Hey everybody, welcome to episode 47 of FoundersGyan and thanks for tuning in. In case you're listening to the show for the first time, we bring you the inspiring story of a startup and the founders behind it. This week, we have the founders of Survaider on the show. This is a platform that helps analyze surveys via machine learning techniques for small businesses. We had a great time in putting this show together and hope you enjoy the same. Do check out the show notes over at foundersgyan.com/EP47 for links to all that we talk about on the show. Also, FoundersGyan is going to be aired on Bol Hyderabad FM radio station soon. The timings are 7 p.m. on Mondays with a repeat on 7 p.m. on Thursdays. This starts on 18th of July. So tune in to 90.4 FM if you're in Hyderabad, or else you can listen online at Bol, that is bolhyd.commuh.in. I know it's a little complicated, but you can just search for Bol Hyderabad on Google and you can directly get the radio station link. Alright, enough with the intro. Let's get on with the show. Madhulika and Tushar, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I'm super excited to meet you and be chatting with you today. Madhulika and Tushar are the founders of Survaider. That is SURV as in survey and Aider altogether as one word.com. This is a platform that empowers hotel chain owners and restaurant chain owners with a powerful AI-based engine that reads unstructured text reviews from all over the internet to recommend things to do for the business. We'll talk a bit more about that on the show. So Tushar and Madhulika, great to meet you and thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge, wisdom and time with our listeners. Thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, so let's talk about your journey before Survaider. Can you each give me a quick 1-minute brief about your background before starting Survaider?
Okay, so before this, we were actually engineering student at the University of Delhi. We passed out in 2015 from there. We both were classmates. So there was a new innovative course started by University of Delhi called BTech in IT with Mathematical Innovations. And that's what brought us both into it. So the course was like a mix of mathematics and computer science, plus with electives such as management and economics, biology, economics, a lot of different subjects. So that was something innovative. I was from second year only interested in data and a lot of business applications. In college, I founded the college cafeteria. So since it was a new college, we didn't have any cafeteria. So I, along with two of my friends, we founded a cafeteria. How we founded that was a very interesting story. So we had to talk to the authorities. And but even after that, we didn't get any funding for starting a cafe. You'll need some funding to stock some food items there so that students can start using it. And plus, there was no funds dedicated to employ somebody on the cafeteria. So what we did was we formed a union of all the students and pooled in money from everybody. So everybody pooled in 100, 150, 200 bucks. And we got a nice corpus of around 10,000, 12,000 rupees. With that, we started a cafeteria. And since we had nobody to employ there, it was totally on trust basis. So there was a space where we stocked up everything. There was a register and anybody could come in, buy anything, enter in the register, and then at the end of the day, come and give us the money. So that's how we started. And today the cafeteria is self-sustaining and we are employing 2 people there and it is working on its own, all managed by students itself. After that, me and Madhulika, we briefly worked on a consulting solution called T9 Solution. T9 Solution was providing IT services and website building, app building services to different companies. I was mainly handling business development there, and Madhulika was also doing some things. Now Madhulika will tell you something about her.
So like Tushar said, so we together we started out in college, and through college at least I was an entirely a computer science person. And I have done so many projects in artificial intelligence and machine learning and natural language processing. I've also semi-published 2 papers, and other than that, I've also attended some very notable international workshops in these particular projects and topics. And so we started our work together at least in our last year, 4th year, when we did like he said, when we were in T9 Solutions, and we used to provide IT consultancy, and we used to do projects and things for other companies. So that's how when we started out actually our professional lives.
Okay, excellent introduction, guys. Thanks for that. Now, let's talk a little bit on the origin of Survaider. So, explain to us a little bit more in detail the concept of Survaider and how did you guys come up with this idea in the first place?
Okay, so it's a very interesting story. Madhulika will tell you how we came up with the idea.
What happened was that, so during college, like I said, that we used to do a lot of projects and things together. So for any project, we used to do a lot of research, we used to do a lot of analysis. So we used to get surveys, we used to make surveys on Google Forms and get our family and friends to fill that survey so as to get basically data to do some kind of analysis on it. What we realized was that surveys were a long and boring thing to fill. Nobody wanted to fill surveys. So we set out to basically make a tool which would turn surveys into fun and interesting games. So what we built was that it was a simple form builder, a survey builder, wherein you can just drag and drop your questions, and at the click of a button, it gets converted into a game. So when you float this link around to your family and friends, they will not be filling the survey as such, they'll be playing the game while filling the survey. So we thought that we'd solve a problem. We thought that we'd completely revolutionized, survey filling. So we'd made it fun and people would fill more surveys and, we'll completely, outthrow Google Forms or something. So yeah, those were the dreams. But when we went to commercialize this, we went around talking to a lot of businesses and asking them that would you like to use this tool to get your customers to fill feedback forms for you? We realized that this was not actually solving the problem we thought it would. Businesses do not care as much about getting their customers to have fun while filling feedback forms. What businesses cared more about was that the data that they were getting from a lot of channels, they could not even understand that data properly. So that's how we pivoted and we started Survaider. So with Survaider, what we do is that we take in the existing channels wherein a business is getting a lot of feedback from, like TripAdvisor and Zomato and a lot of online channels like Facebook and Twitter. We take all of that data and we analyze that, and our algorithm extracts the key aspects that people are talking about inside this data. Like it could be topics like cleanliness or any abstract topic which is difficult to get out from, it's difficult to derive from a lot of text reviews. So what we do right now is that we do that. We extract topics that are most being talked about and we present this as analytics to the business. So that's how we came about this particular idea, starting from gamifying surveys.
So the key learning was we started out building gamification and all those things without even talking to a single customer. And we realized that there is no point building anything if you haven't validated that it's a real problem or it's actually what customers want. So with this, we had this premise in mind, and this is something which is very important to us, and now it is sort of a mantra for us, and we use it everywhere. Every new feature that we want to add, every little thing that we want to do, we never start out coding. We always go talk to customers first.
Okay, it's actually a great story. So thanks for sharing that story with us. Now let's talk about the idea creation. Actually, so I think you've already given a little bit of advice on this, that always talk to your customers. But for our budding founders listening out there, can you also tell us how we can come up with a winning idea? So now I'm not sure if I caught that part or I missed that part, but did you actually touch upon why you started doing this gamification of surveys?
So there are basically 2-3 things. Ideas, you can't just sit and think of ideas and then you'll start working on it. That usually doesn't work as far as I believe. What usually happens is 2 things. One, if you yourself feel the problem, feel the pain, and hence you start working on it, because all ideas originate from a pain. That is primary. So one, either you feel that pain and then you look out for a solution to solve that pain. 2, you know of that pain of somebody who has felt that pain and you can see that, and then you start working on it. But in both the cases, you have to validate it. So one is ideas. Everybody gets a lot of ideas, but ideas are worth nothing unless it is what people want. So for example, the idea of filling surveys while playing games sounds really cool, and at least to us sounded very cool, and we thought this is going to be amazing. Everybody's going to like just start using them, and survey is going to be obsolete. But when you actually go out in the market, try to understand what customers are talking about, try to understand other nuances which are associated with the whole process of gathering feedback, gathering surveys, or in any process as such, you will understand that what you thought about might be very different from what the market wants.
So ideas, like he said, they probably strike you. So you have a lot of nice ideas to start with, but it's very important for any idea to turn into a business, you have to validate that other people also feel this pain or not. Or is it just you in your dreams thinking that, oh, this is a really cool thing? That is not going to work, because we, in our experience, have also met a lot of other entrepreneurs our age, younger than us. We met them and they've had a lot of good ideas. But for that to turn into a business, it's important that you go out there on your feet, talk to your customers and validate it first. Only then can it be classified as a really good idea that's going to work.
And Ram, what we also believe is the idea as such should be directly linked to the problem. Because what you set out solving can later turn out to a totally different product. So for example, if somebody wants to solve the problem of dirty water, it couldn't directly be building a hardware solution to filter water. When you actually go out in the market, understand everything, it could result to a totally different new product. So it should always be linked to the problem you're trying to solve, and always be focused on the problem you're trying to solve.
Okay, excellent. So let's talk about ideation to creation, which is the next question. And I think you briefly touched on that in terms of validating your idea. Now, let's say that you have validated your idea. Let's take that as part of the ideation process. And then we all know that an idea is only as good as I mean, an idea is no good, unless it is executed upon.
Every idea is worth $1, no matter how the idea is.
Yeah. Right. So can you give us some brief high-level steps on, okay, I have an idea, I've validated it, what next? Do I build a MVP? Do I hire a team? I mean, there are tons of different paths I can take, right? So what would you think is a good way to go about it?
Yeah. So one thing which is, so usually budding entrepreneurs who come out of college or are still studying, they usually are clueless about how to hit the market, because they know their technology, they know what to build, they know how to build, but they don't know how to sell. So one thing I would strongly recommend is start selling first, because you can build later. Anything that you know can be built and will be built. But if you start selling, so for example, if somebody is trying to build up a hyper local grocery website and he wants to sell vegetables online, I suggest first start with circulating your number. Don't build anything, circulating your number, and start selling through WhatsApp without investing a single money, so that you know that people are ready to buy and they are buying from you at your set price. And then technology you can build on later. Now this varies with the kind of business. So for example, for our business where technology is the core of the product, the proposition, in those kind of business, you don't really need to wrap around technology in a beautiful form from the beginning. Just you have a technology, start doing things that don't scale, start doing things manually, and service a few clients before you get into the final product. So when you say the word MVP, it doesn't necessarily mean a product which looks good or which is great. It means anything or any medium through which you can do your business. You can start doing your business. So that's, I think, is very important for ideation to creation. Another thing is especially for students who are coming out of college and who are still studying in college and thinking of starting up, always seek out for mentorship and help. Now that today is not very difficult to get. There are a lot of accelerators, incubators. In college, there are entrepreneurship societies. So somehow get into the network and try to meet people and keep people around you who have done this before and who can help you with these things. So I think these two things are very important.
And to add to that, we meet a lot of people who have really great ideas, and like Tushar touched upon, they don't know how to sell. So what they should do is, before creating a product, just go ahead and start selling. To add to that, I think budding entrepreneurs right now who are just out of college also worry a lot about money and team. they want to get investment first. They do not know what to do with that money, so they want to get investment first. They want to start hiring and build a great team, build a product, and then 6 months later start selling. I think that's very wrong, and the notion right now is just floating around. It's quite wrong. What you need first is mentorship. You need to know that if and when you get money, how are you going to spend it to, establish your business. So right now, I think to any entrepreneur, if he has a good idea and to get that to creation, to really making a business out of it, it's important that before he gets a team, or obviously have one or two trusted people with whom you can start selling a wireframe of your product or just the concept of your product. Just start selling that before actually making the product, and then go ahead and seek mentorship. Try and understand what is the market like, what are the existing other competitors and things, and after that apply for funding and things, but not before that.
Yeah, and exactly. Product development is a never-ending cycle. Like, ask anybody, they'll say you keep working, and you'll never reach the ideal product that you had in mind.
Okay, excellent advice, guys. Thanks for that. Now let's talk a little bit on the personal front. Now we all hear about founders sacrificing their personal times to make their ventures a success. Now, obviously, you guys are just out of college, a few years out of college, and probably guys your age, guys and gals your age, I should say, are busy, maybe going around and having fun, while you might have to spend a lot of time on your startup. So how do you manage to balance between your personal time and your business time?
That's a great question.
Well, it's true. An entrepreneur's life is truly a very lonely life. Somebody has said it correctly. Yeah, it is a very lonely life. You have to sacrifice on your social life quite a bit, and which means that of course your friends are going out and going places, and you have to stay in and you have to work. But the thing is, I don't know. I never really felt that I had to balance anything as such, because we enjoy our work so much that we don't really think of it as work. Like, this is our fun time. So if we have to stay all night in office and work, I call that a night out, because it's fun to us. So the thing is that we never really felt that we were actually balancing anything. And when it comes to pressure from family or anything, not really. Our parents were at least very proud of what we were doing. And while all our friends went out for getting placements at really big companies and things, I don't know, I never felt like I was missing out on anything. So no, there was not as much balancing as such. But yes, there's a problem when you see that others are earning money and you don't have any money in the bank. You're still asking from your parents when you're 23, 24 years old. That does pinch a little bit. But then it's worth it, because after a while, of course, you know where you're going. So instead of thinking of it as a sacrifice, that you're sacrificing things, sacrificing family time and things, if you have people to support you, and if you have friends who understand what you're doing, and that you wouldn't be coming out every evening or every Friday night, then it doesn't feel like that much of a sacrifice.
Great. Tushar, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, basically the same things. And one very important thing is the family. So if your family is supporting and they understand what you're doing, then it's good. But usually what happens, and it's true in my case, they might know that what you're doing is all right, you're working hard and everything, but they still want you to start earning money, start preparing for MS, or start preparing for government exams and everything. That pressure will always be there, and you have to somehow know where you're going and be focused on that. Don't get distracted. Don't look at your friend who's earning 18 LPA and who's shopping like crazily, who's going to Goas on every weekends. Don't be distracted by all of that, because that doesn't lead you anywhere.
Yes, family pressure is obviously always going to be there. They want you to earn, because our parents are of a generation where entrepreneurship wasn't seen as such a amazing thing. Right now it's seen as a very glamorous thing, maybe, but back then it wasn't. So yes, so parents will always say that, okay, yes, we are proud of you, things like that, but they might still want you to earn. So it's very important as an entrepreneur, you have to be very, very self-motivated, because there are going to be times when you feel so low that everybody is turning against you, that nobody really believes in you, and you might not feel very motivated. It's very important as an entrepreneur to be a very self-motivated person. Tell yourself that it's all okay, and that this is going to be worth it, because I know where I'm going.
Okay, great advice, guys. I kind of understand, at least in the Indian context. I think there is a secretly there's a, even though your parents might tell that they're proud of you, deep down, they secretly hope that you get a good job, you get a stable job.
To my mom, like every second week, she somehow reminds me. So, are you looking out? So, what do you want to do this all your life? So, are you also? So that will always be. So, Indian parents.
Okay, great. But slowly I think it is changing, and so I think it's changing for the good. If you like this show, do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The link is www.facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. Both these provide you daily tips and articles as well as resources to help and inspire your startup. There are multiple tips per day. Some examples of these tips would be articles on the latest startups, growth hacking tips, how do you build team for startups, how to get funding, etc. So don't forget facebook.com/FoundersGyan and twitter.com/FoundersGyan. Let's talk a little bit more about co-founders. So you already told us that you guys met each other during college and during your first venture together. Now, what advice would you have for people who are starting out with regards to co-founders? Specifically, how important is it to have a co-founder or co-founders, and what advice would you give them to get co-founders, good co-founders?
So, one thing, if you are thinking of starting out alone,
Yeah, I was just
you
going to
need to
start
be
with that.
you need to be like super motivated, and I don't know it. Just think of it this way: it'll be twice as difficult. So everybody says it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, and if you're starting out alone, it's going to be twice as hard. And there'll be no one to talk to. There'll be no one to.
You'll be right alone up there up on top of the mountain.
So, what advice I would get for a co-founder is one, understand what your skill set is and look for somebody who has a complementing skill set to yours. So, for example, if you're a good coder and you understand technology very well, look for somebody who can handle the business and the sales side of it. If you are sort of that side, then look for somebody who's on the tech side of it. And it doesn't just end there. So even when you have complementing skills, then you go on to the next level and see how much you guys can work out with each other. Because like we stayed together every day for like 16, 18 hours. And that's going to be true for any co-founders. You'll have to stick together for long hours. If you don't like each other, if you can't talk with each other, if you can't be friends with each other, it's going to be very difficult. So look for somebody, like think of it as a major commitment that you're doing. Both of you will share a same vision, same future together. So all of these things that people talk about, you should have the same vision. You should be clear on what the future holds for the company. Complementing skills, that is important. But being good friends and understanding each other is equally important if you want a co-founder who you can stick with.
Yeah, because you're going to be having a lot of disagreements and things along the way. I mean, obviously, if you're sticking to each other for a good 16 to 18 hours every day, 7 days a week, for years and years to come, it's a really, really long commitment. And it is important that maybe you don't have to be the best of friends, but you have to be good friends to understand that you guys are compatible with each other or not. What I see some people doing in the beginning is that, okay, this is my best friend, I'm just going to start out with him because we both know the same things, we both know the same programming language and things like that. You have to grow out of it a little bit. This is talking to basically really young entrepreneurs. You have to grow out of that a little bit. You have to understand that somebody who has complementary skills to you as compared to you is going to add more value than somebody who's the exact mirror image of you. So it's important to choose your co-founder that way.
Yeah,
because
like
it's not just a college project or a school project where you're best friends and you like to hang out together and hence you should start out. It has to be somebody with whom you can tolerate, with whom you can joke around, but you can also basically be compatible and have healthy arguments with that person without getting offended. Ego and things, a lot of things come into place. So you have to just understand all that and then choose the co-founder.
Like we weren't best of friends when we started out. We were in the same class, we were friends, but then as we got to know about the company, about each other's vision, that's where we came to a position where we can talk about things without any problems or any inhibitions. And this is one thing to note here in this particular question is most startups fail because of disagreements or breakups in founders. So it is very important.
Right. Okay. I'm also kind of curious to know, you guys kind of have the same educational background. So can you just tell us briefly what each of you guys take care of so that our listeners also have an idea of how to have kind of like a division of responsibilities, or what is this complementary skills that you're talking about?
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, so we have quite a clear division of responsibilities. So I handle all of the technology at Survaider. I architect the product and I take care of the team, which means that so basically we both discuss the product and I take care of people who's going to do what and things. So that's all of the technology part. Tushar takes care of business development, strategy and product. He takes care of sales and marketing also. Yeah, Tushar?
Yeah, that's about.
Right. I guess, Tushar, that comes from your background of studying a cafe, right? Your business. I think business is in your blood.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about another personal question. Can you tell us something about yourself that is not commonly known? Even your maybe good friends would think, is this maybe each other know you both know each other very well, but maybe other people wouldn't know something about yourself. So each of you have to answer this.
Okay, now that's a tough one.
That's a thinker.
Like in the era of Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, I don't know what's hidden from anybody.
What kind of things though? Like very...
Anything up to you. I mean, maybe some hidden talent, hidden skill, could be personal, professional. Maybe, I don't know, you like to sing when you're in the bathroom. Could be something as secretive as that.
Okay. So
so I do like to sing in the bathroom and I sleep with the lights on because I'm scared of the dark, and I'm 24 years old and I still do that. But yeah, let me think of something a little more substantial than that.
No, that's fine. I mean, Tushar can talk. You can think about something else if you want.
One thing which I think many people don't know about me is that I just like to stay at home and sleep. So usually when even my friends call, let's go out, let's go there, I tell them that I'm busy and I have work and everything. But what I'm actually doing is I'm just sleeping and lying down and doing nothing.
Okay, now your friends know. Or will know soon.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Madhulika, you want to change your answer, or what you said is fine, perfectly fine enough. I mean, sleeping with the lights on because you're scared is like good enough.
I do. I do that.
Okay, great. Now let's move on to advice. Now, what's the best advice somebody has given you, or alternatively, best advice you have heard or read and kind of try to implement in your life and business?
Okay, so one advice which always stays with me, which I've already said before, both of us have said before a lot of times, is when we built that gamification tool and we went out selling it. So one of our mentors, Mr. Subinder Khurana, he sat down with us and the first question he asked us that, okay, so you built this, great, but who asked you to build it? And we thought it was cool to build and everything. So one advice which he gave was that he's a serial entrepreneur, he's built product before. He told us that he once sold a solution to a bank without writing a single line of code.
Like he sold an entire software.
An entire software to 2 banks without writing a single line of code. What he said was it's easy to validate, it's easy to package your solution in a way where people can understand what it is and be ready to pay for it. So always sell before you start building. That way you save a lot of time and you know what you're building is needed by somebody. So for example, when we started building out this product, we didn't build anything. We just made some sketches on a sketch. We made a few wireframes, a few buttons. That's it. It took us 2 hours and we went straight away, talked to more than 50 companies and tried to sell that.
Basically, we had like a ghost of a product, which anybody could have seen and understood that this has no code behind it. So it was just images one after the other, and we told them that these are the screens of the software, So and that's what we went and we sold. So yeah, so same answer for me
and
too. That's the best advice we got.
That gives you a very good idea. You are already ahead of so many people if you can do that, because then customers are giving you feedback on your product which you haven't even built, and you can change it anytime. So always start selling.
To add to that, just another piece of advice that I think should be really relevant for new entrepreneurs is that they give too much importance to the product. The product is 10% of the business, whereas 90% is execution. It's about how you execute it. So that's just a high level perspective of what we just said, that don't spend too much time on the product initially. Try to understand the problem you're trying to solve and try to get a lot of validation for that problem, so that your customers tell you that I want this feature or that feature before you actually start building it. So once you have that kind of data to work with, then you can actually go and build the product, which will take you so much less time.
Yeah, and plus this is valid for initial stages. Rest, when you are validated, when you know that customers are ready to pay for it, then your full focus will be the product, and that's where your life will revolve around.
Great advice, great advice, guys. Thanks for being honest here. And that kind of reminded me also. I read somewhere online, obviously, about some person who went about and he sold a shipping solution, shipping of containers or something very similar to what you guys did. He just went to some conference. He just spoke to few people. Okay, if I do this, will you guys pay for it? And he got paying customers even before even really having anything in place. Now that leads me to a little bit of an interesting question. Now, if you go and show to people, let's say some diagrams or just some some Photoshop image just for on the computer, wouldn't people say all this is fine, but build it and come back to me? Won't they say that?
What we did was that when we brought up the sketches of what our software will end up looking like, we designed it in a way, we put it in a package that it doesn't look like these are just images. It was basically the entire product on the browser, and yeah, so none of our customers in fact ever found out that, at least when we were doing our survey, when we were finding out if this is the kind of product they like or not, they were actually interested in what we had to offer. They weren't asking around that whether this is the actual product or not. So yeah, they actually never found out that it wasn't.
And plus it's combination of two things. If you're smart, you're confident, one, and two, if you can build it properly. So when you have a few sketches, you stitch that around on HTML, put a few buttons, that'll just take 2-3 hours of simple coding, which anybody 8th class student can do.
So that's what we did. We took our images, we put them on the images on HTML pages, and then we put these invisible buttons onto which basically you just click on the image and it leads to a second image where people just thought that it's actually the software working, but these were just a lot of invisible buttons and a lot of HTML pages all stitched together. So it wasn't actually the product, this was just images on a browser. So that's how you have to package it, and like Tushar said, you have to be very confident with what you're going with. If you know on the inside that this is not the actual product and people might find out or something, that shouldn't even be the least of your concerns.
And plus, I've for B2B especially, I've known people and I've seen people who actually service their 2-3 initial clients manually. So they're building the product on the side, but they don't want to lose these customers. They start servicing them manually. So start crunching numbers manually on Excel, make beautiful reports and send it to them and say, these are software generated reports and stuff. So all of that is doable.
Okay, great. Now, we just have another 3 or 4 more questions. Now, we all know that startups come with a lot of pressure. So let's talk about inspiring listeners. So give us some tips on how we can handle pressure when things aren't going well.
Okay.
Well, I can give you some micromanaging tips. Like if you're under a lot of pressure and you have a lot of work to do, then one thing that has really worked with us is that instead of just going into your own shell and thinking, okay, I have this to do, that to do by tonight or something. Firstly, be very self-motivated, have confidence in yourself. Secondly, make sure that you put these down, jot these down in lists. So there's a lot of listing softwares, to-do lists and things. What we personally like to do is, we have glass walls all over here in our office, and we just put these things down on lists on the glass wall so that we can tick them out one by one as we do them. So that really helps me, at least when I have to handle a lot of pressure.
And another thing which is important is to tackle pressure is be honest. So with your customers, with your investors, with your mentors, with your co-founder, be honest. So if there's something which is piling up and you can't do, or you need more time, be honest instead of saying that, instead of looking for excuses or trying to crunch it in half an hour and not delivering properly.
Because startups always run on very hard deadlines. They have to make something by tomorrow morning, or they have to ship out something, they have to roll out this new feature, or they have to make something for this investor by so and so time. This will keep happening. You can't let this, take you down. You have to understand this is the part and parcel of life ever since you signed up to be an entrepreneur. So it's important that you have to be, like he said, you have to be very honest. If something's not going to happen, just tell your customers, because the more you lie or the more you show that I have this when in the back end you don't really have it, it's going to add up on the pressure. So don't do that.
Okay, great. Okay, great advice, guys. Thanks again. Now, Can you tell us about your worst entrepreneurial moment and how you managed to turn it around? Or even if you didn't, the lessons you learned from that experience? I know obviously the very first version of your product where nobody bought it could be considered as one bad moment. But is there anything else you'd like to share on something that went wrong and the lessons you learned?
Yeah, I think it's you at one time you have to get used to failing. So because it is a part of it. You have to understand that if you try 10 times, probably 8 7 times you will fail. And that keeps happening. You apply here, you apply for an accelerator, you go talk to that investor, he thinks your plan is shit. So things like these keep happening, and they constantly keep happening to us. When you talk to a customer, you approach him for 2 weeks, you exchange mails, everything is going right, you note down, you do calculations accordingly that now I'm going to be there, I'm in a good position, and suddenly he said, no, I don't want it, this doesn't have this feature. But gradually we've learned to accept that, and we've learned that pleasing everybody is not required and not which anybody can do. So it is good to accept things which might not work and work towards actually accomplishing it instead of being low or being sad, because that's going to happen. It's in India, I think it's a huge concept where failure is considered as a roadblock, or as considered something bad.
It's
because
like
you're
once
ashamed.
you failed, yeah, it's like once if you failed, you have to leave your entire startup plans, either start a new company or probably just join a job now. That is not something which people should believe. Failing is very important, because even in our journey, we've had a short journey, but we failed so many times in the middle with really small things. So it's going to happen. You are going to think that, okay, I'll have these 5 customers by next month, and I'm going to have this much revenue, and so I'm going to apply for that funding or that accelerator in that country, say. But one customer backs out and suddenly all your numbers fall, and such things are going to happen. It's happened with us too. So yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, let's retouch on Survaider. What's the future that you envision for your company?
Okay, so what we're doing here is we're automating the whole customer experience management solution scape. So what the vision for the company is that we want to automate everything from understanding text reviews. So our algorithm right now can pretty much understand all text reviews, but we want to go to a step where it can understand text reviews like a human does. 2, we want to automate replying. So we want a system to learn, understand what customers are talking about, and reply to them specific to that context and specific to their intent. So, for example, for a company who right now has a team of 50 call center executives, support executives who are there to answer customer queries and answer all these things, with Survaider in the next 2 to 3 years, what will happen is these companies will only need 1 or 2 people to handle specific queries. Rest everything will be handled by the system itself.
So we're looking to disrupt the whole customer service, customer feedback, and customer experience management space all put together.
Okay, so good luck with that, guys. I think now with advancements in chatbots and things like that, I think it is very much doable. So
Exactly.
good luck with that vision. Now, can you recommend any books or resources for a budding entrepreneurs? You can just name like 2 or 3 each books or resources that you use.
Read 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
That's that's something everybody reads. One thing that's something everybody should read, and one book which I read was not directly related to entrepreneurship or business is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. If you are doing business and you are into entrepreneurship, you'll have to understand human behavior, consumer behavior very well. And that book does a very good job on that. So it helps you understand how customers make decisions, how people make decisions, how they make irrational decisions. That gives you a good insight on how people react, and then you can model that accordingly. So I think, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is a must read for everybody, and Thinking Fast and Slow.
Okay, we will link those up on the show notes. Now, Survaider is about 1.5 years old, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, if you add
If you count our previous what we started out with, then yes, 1.5 years. With the current product we're at, which we're looking to build and sell. This is about 7 to 8 months, 6 to 7 months.
Okay, and I think this question I already know the answer, but let me just ask it again. So hindsight is always 2020, but is there something you do different if you started this venture today? Maybe yes, you didn't talk to the customer and built something that nobody wanted. But if you go back, let's say 7 to 8 months when you pivoted, is there still something that you would do different if you started today?
Yeah, I think one thing again, one mistake that we did was, and which a lot of people do, is waste too much time on development. So because development is a never-ending cycle, we build something and then we think that no, this is still not ready, we should add this also, and then when you reach there, then you want to add that also. So I feel that is something when we will do differently. And second, talk to more customers, because
we talk to very few and we base our decisions upon that. But I think it's very important to talk to a lot more customers when you're starting out. So for a B2B, if you're a B2B business, talk to definitely 100 to 200 customers. If you're a B2C, get to at least 500 to 600 customers and get their opinion and ask them if this is something they'll use or not. We talked to about 50 to 60, but we feel that we should talk to a lot more. We would have arrived to the features and things we're building today probably 6 months.
And plus, asking the right questions is very important. So just not talking, but asking the right questions is very important. So you should know what to ask your customers, not directly ask, do you want to use this product? But ask more on the problem, about who will use this, who will buy this, who has the buying decision. Try to understand the organization.
And it's also
structure.
very important to feel a certain sense of empathy with the problem. If you feel that, then you'll be even more motivated to work on the solution. If you just think that, okay, there is a problem and there's a lot of money if I solve that problem, if you don't connect with that problem, you might not actually build the best solution for it. You have to understand, you have to feel it properly. So yeah, that's something we'd do differently if we had to go back 6 months.
Exactly, and that will save us another 3-4 months, I think.
Okay, great lessons, guys. So thanks for sharing that with us. Now, I just have one final question, but before that, how can our listeners get in touch with you? They can go to your website, and I think you have a free trial also that they can try out if they're interested in your software. But personally, if they want to reach out to you to talk about entrepreneurship or mentoring or anything with regards to startups, what's the best way to reach out to you? Are you active on LinkedIn, Twitter? Do you have a blog?
So LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, any other channel. So you can follow my handle on Twitter. It's Tushar71993.
And mine is Madhulika _1511.
Apart from that, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook. We'll send you the links. You can probably include that.
Yeah. You can send me that offline, and I will add those to the show notes.
Anything else in these channels you can't think of, then mail us at info@survaider.com or tushar@survaider.com or madhulika@survaider.com. We'll always be available there.
Okay, great. So I just have one final question, but before that, I just want to take the time to acknowledge and thank you guys for sharing your knowledge to myself and our listeners. I'm also very grateful for the value you're adding into the world by means of your company. So by means of your startup. So with that, we'll move on to the final question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ram. Yeah, thank you so much for having us here, and it was great talking to you and sharing a little experience that we have. There's still a long way to go. We're still like way down the food chain.
So if there's the final question is, if there is only one gyan that you could give our would-be founders, what would that be?
I think talk to your customers and start selling. These are probably the two best. And for people who are just coming out of college, look for people who have done this before, who can guide you better. It's very important to find a good mentor, a good guide who can help you and who can guide you.
So just summarize that. Talk to your customers first before building anything, and secondly, look for good mentorship before going ahead and building anything.
Okay, excellent advice, guys. So thank you so much. I know you guys are very young and you are very young entrepreneurs, but I think there's some great and valuable advice that you have given to our listeners. I'm sure the listeners will really appreciate your time, and it was great doing this.
Thank you so much to have us here. We really appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thank you. There you have it, folks. Another inspiring startup and the story behind its founders. Do check out FoundersGyan.com/EP47 to check out all the show notes. a review on iTunes would be much appreciated if you like the show. And any comments, feedback, etc. would be really helpful. You can leave that all on the show notes page. Also, please spread the word about FoundersGyan to your friends who you think will find the show useful. Who knows, maybe one of them may create a startup after listening to this show, and you'd be the person who'd be credited with inspiring him or her. I'll see you all next week with yet another startup and its story. I hope you got inspired and do take action on your own startup today. Good luck on your startup adventure and take care till next week.